You have Nightmare plus Samuro is another very, very strong board clear. But before we can get into any of that, we of course have to get through another Mage game here. And GivePLZ is already presented with one of the, like, questionable cards in the mulligan. Like, the statistics seem to say you're supposed to keep refreshing spring water, but I kind of turn my nose up at it every time I'm offered it in the mulligan because it's just not Lunacy.
Me too, and it's not Incanter's Flow either. I mean,
right.
I'm getting to a point where I've been thinking about tossing Incanter's Flow because like everything only gets really good if you have that condition of I have played Lunacy checked. And Refreshing Spring Water, you can make the argument, well, this helps me find Lunacy, but that means you're conceding to the, oh my goodness, the possibility that you don't play Lunacy until turn 5. But whatever, if you get it on turn 2, then sure, you keep your Refreshing Spring Water. Have at it, che0nsu.
GivePLZ, welcome to Grandmasters. You have officially been inducted in. You drew Lunacy on 2. Welcome to the big leagues, buddy. You have more than earned your spot already. Whew, that's not bad either.
I mean, he picked up pretty decent minions as well from the Font of Power.
Yeah.
Starscar keeps him cycling, but I think I'll take my 3/1/1s here. Sorry, 5/1/1s. I thought this is the one that gets corrupted. It is not. It's already good.
Yeah, I mean, card draw is obviously well and truly taken care of now with Rigged Fair Game, Starscryer, and Springwater. All he needs to hope now is that he doesn't get, like, all bad spells, like Deck of Chaos, one of the few bad ones that you can get.
I mean,
avoid that.
You didn't even mention Sag and Cram Session, which also draw cards.
Oh, true.
It's just Mask of Cthulhu that does it. And is that Cycle of Hatred?
Just upgrade your board to 3/3s.
Yeah,
why not?
I think that's pretty good. I think that is hysteria proof. I think that kills the Scorpion, and you just kind of win, huh?
Okay, well, we're obviously looking at what, pretty much exactly Xyrella as the clear here, which obviously he has in hand.
Congratulations, you dealt with one of their spells.
Yeah, now they're going to play an 8 mana spell for 5 on the following turn, continue to draw a trillion cards. But I mean, I guess, to be fair, che0nsu has Xyrella, he has Raised Dead to get another Xyrella in the coming turns. That's a powerful combo. If he can get himself, I don't know, Samuro, and obviously if he gets very lucky with GivePLZ getting garbage cards, not 100% over.
True. Okay, Flash Heal, that works well with your recycled Xyrella in the near future.
There we go.
Honestly, I'm looking at this Elusia, not in the near future, but I think che0nsu has to rely on this to win at some point because he can only clear boards for so long. Mage will have their Grand Slam, very likely, or they'll have more board-generating cards like Glowfly Swarm, Runic Carvings, etc., etc. And if che0nsu can stay alive long enough to maybe steal one of those and swing the board around that way, then we're talking. But I'm really, really grasping at straws here.
So we're trying to set up for the survival on the following turn, of course, which means minions played ideally, like Starscryer, even if it's not much, upgrades very, very nicely.
You can just Fireball the Xyrella and play Rigged Fair Game.
Oof. Oof. It's just so good.
All the mana, you cheated. Look at that. Okay, looks like he's holding on to the Fireball.
Oh, it's actually kind of smart, because then it doesn't even die, right? You can't res it back to clear the board.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That is super heads up. Yeah, I didn't notice that. It means che0nsu cannot... I mean, not that GivePLZ gave him enough damage on his side of the board to trade off the Xyrella, but it means che0nsu can't just attack with this however he likes.
Okay, I take it back. This was the turn where GivePLZ became Grandmasterial. This was it.
So, no Samuro for che0nsu. Skeletal is his best shot at stalling. Not Entity. Okay. This is not okay though. GivePLZ is continuing to draw insane spells for very cheap. Blessing of Authority. What are you doing here?
Indeed. Well, I mean, Commencement and Portal, what are they doing here?
It's probably still just survival, right? Well, I guess it's not that clean. Yeah, the 9 health is a bit awkward. There's just too many good options. I like the blessing. Gives you a nice clean trade. And
yeah, it does. I guess you could also then just like trade in the Star Scryer for another go at a decent spell, right?
But that's a potential survival minion next turn.
True, yeah, that's true.
It's just like, the only problem here is the first world problem of I'm floating some mana, but you're doing insane enough things every single turn that it's okay. It's really fine. Okay, maybe it's just gonna be...
I mean, these are bad cards, right? He hasn't hit in a Grand Slam. He's got 2 unplayables so far, and Chaos Nova isn't much better. Like, he's still winning, of course, but this isn't over yet. There's Flash Heal, Renew, Heal for a full board clear this turn, I think.
8, 10. Yeah, it does the full 10. Oh, he missed the Zyrella! Oh no! Disaster!
Absolute disaster. Okay, now we're looking for a miracle here from Psychic Conjurer.
Domer?
Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
You take those, and then you can play the Scorpid and Apotheosis in advance, something like that. Okay, Holy Smite. Actually, Pawn Reading's sick here, isn't it?
It's pretty good. You have quite a lot of minions in hand. It's not so insane that you have to take it, I don't think.
Yeah, true. I'm just thinking...
Oh, okay, there you go.
It potentially helps him set up like a Samuro that can clear even survival boards if you discount both Apotheosis. But the Samuro is not even in hand yet, so could be getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, I guess it's going with Death here instead. Fair enough if you don't want to use up the...
Shadowward Ruin gets him through a survival board. Okay.
Okay, so you want to wait a turn on that, right? You want to do that in 1 turn.
Yeah, I think he can initiate the Scorpid. And, oh, so much mana floated again. Oh, just play Sage instead? Okay, yeah, makes sense. He actually did have a secret activated as well, so he gets 2 draws. Oh, man.
Damn, yeah, I mean, he's just fully on the removal game plan now.
If che0nsu can actually do this, just actually run Lunacy on 2 Mage out of all their resources, I will lose my mind yet again.
Oh, don't play the Ruin! Oh no, he doesn't know!
Can the Hysteria work? Nope, all the Glowflies will be the same size. Yay.
What is that? So they'd be 6 6s, so... Samuro? Is what you're looking for? Or raise that into?
Samuro with double Apo is still just 5 attack, so he would have to condemn as well. I think this is Elusia and grab their soul mirror. Does that ever work?
I mean...
Like, he has no choice, right? Okay, Hysteria will clear 2. And then you can poison 1. There's 4 left.
He's doing it, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He's gonna be happy with what he gets.
Yeah. Soul Mirror, and he can play titles. Actually, the Shadowward Ruin, I guess it's not good enough because it kills his own guy. Tidal Surge and Soul Mirror. His Scorpid lives to see another day, but GivePLZ will have the fully upgraded Condemns that he can just dump from che0nsu's hand.
Yeah, I mean, he could just go Initiation Shadowward Ruin instead if he wanted to and accept that his Scorpion dies here, right?
I just think that Soul Mirror is a more valuable card to toss from your opponent's hand, but could be wrong.
Yeah, fair. Also, there with the way that worked out, it wasn't necessarily wrong to go for initiate or the initiation last, right? Because you might want to have a better res pool and doesn't want a 2/2 Treant or a Glowfly in there, sorry, which is fair enough, even if it's slightly lower tempo. Because, I mean, he knows that Condemn is going to clear the board this turn anyway, pretty much.
True. GivePLZ taking the most tempo from his hand as possible. Yeah, Hysteria doesn't do anything against the Skeletal Dragon. Oh!
That's a pretty good one to get back on the other side, I suppose.
Yeah, GivePLZ will be upset to see that at the end of the turn. There's the Samuro, but both Apotheoses have been used. Health is not really an issue at the moment. It's probably just Alex for put this to a 6/4.
You just know that's not really going to be good enough, though. They have, even if it's just Soul Mirror to clear it off for 4 mana, you would happily take that.
But he has to clear it over 2 turns somehow, so whether it's with Condemn or just Hysteria something. che0nsu's game plan is clear. He is trying to outlast Lunacy Mage, which honestly seems like a lunatic move as well, but we'll see if it works.
It's possible. It's very possible. This is all the 7 mana spells spoken for because he only runs 3, and both of them turned out to be survival of the fittest. This is winnable, depending on what the cards are. If it's not high value options for GivePLZ, he does not have the Nagrand slams to close things out.
True. And while we obviously cannot tell what the transformed cards for GivePLZ are, we do know the cost of his spells that are left in the deck. And so we can make educated guesses as to what kinds of spells these could turn into.
Out on me.
Just another one, I suppose?
Yeah, it's the most likely to do something. I mean, even then, like, Hysteria is... you don't really want to have more minions on the board in case your opponent is able to clear them off. With the Hysteria. That's a good one, though.
True. So, che0nsu, if he can get Yogg, I feel like that's one of the best ways out of this. He's actually not running Malygos like a lot of the other Control Priest players, but he has the Yogg in there. And he also has, suppose, just palm reading to discover more stuff. Like, clearly what he needs is not currently in his deck. It has to be generated one way or another.
I agree. Like, I mean, we're kind of looking at generating or finding another Raise Dead to get another Elusia and delete all your opponent's cards. Or, of course, again, just pray that slim chance that their deck just has no value.
Okay, GivePLZ approaching fatigue, sprint, sprint. Those are kind of useless. But Onyxia is very scary here. He should know about the other Condemn, so the immediate whelps get cleared, but the new Onyxia works like Shuma.
Right. In which case, do you have to go Hysteria on it then?
Sounds good. So you trade the Brightwing first and then Hysteria. Right?
Trade it into one of the 1/1s. Yeah, if you trade it into one of the 1/1s, then I think you're guaranteed to clear.
Right.
Well, obviously we're looking at Malygos, but Ysera is like added value, whereas Malygos just draws from your deck, which, again, we just don't know if it's going to be good enough yet until we know what all the cards from GivePLZ's deck are.
Yeah. I mean, if che0nsu had the Yogg in hand already, I would be in favor of more value. I have my trump card already, but because he doesn't have Yogg, maybe just thinning his deck towards it is the way to go. Even if he does fill his hand with spells, I think he should still, like, GivePLZ should still be farther down in fatigue.
Quickly.
Okay, goes for the Mali. And then he Hysterias the Onyxia. And he can end with this Dark Inquisitor if he wants to.
Oh, it summons the Oasis Allies, the one that was picked.
Oh.
Which, I mean, likely gets cleared. Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. The water alley that could.
That's pretty unlucky.
Just dodge the giant dragon.
That's
oh, man.
yet more 0 value. It's getting close. It's getting really close.
Okay, but Arbor up survival. Can che0nsu survive that? It's gotta be the player, right?
What to do? What to do?
He doesn't have ways to generate minions other than the Arbor up, so I think this is as good as the survival. Oh, sorry, this is Felguardian. There, that's a card that generates cards.
Right, sorry, yeah. I mean, I was thinking if you go Felguardian plus the Arbor up, but I guess this is a slightly better way to go about it here. I think that's one of the unfortunate parts of Power Word Fortitude there, is that it does not reduce correctly with mana in Mage, unfortunately, at the moment, because that would be a pretty premium card to throw down on this turn if it was working as intended.
Right. I actually wonder what GivePLZ was hoping to get off of those last few draws. It feels to me like he just went to fatigue unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Anyway, Water LE going to kill off 2 of the 5/6s. che0nsu's getting there. It's just Arbor up now, and these buff power words for GivePLZ.
So there's obviously a full clear available if he wants it with Hysteria plus double condemn. I think you just take the leaving up of 1/5/6 with Hysteria on the water elemental.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. It's getting scary because, again, reach is also a thing he has to be worried about.
Yeah.
He doesn't know if the Masks of Cthulhu are still there, or one of them definitely is.
Like, it's either Mask of Cthulhu, Nagran Slam, or Survival of the Fittest has to be in hand right now, right?
All of those are scary if you leave even a single minion up, so che0nsu is committing to the full clear, just hoping and praying that GivePLZ does not have any more minion generation. And for the most part, it is moderate minion generation compared to what he's had prior.
Gets the full suite with a 1/1, a 2/2, and a 3/3. Very fitting for a 1/2 and 3 cost minion.
And Savaro has no buffs on it right now. No more Apotheosis in the deck.
Yeah.
But there's still Palm Reading. There's still Yogg.
Renew, yeah. We're looking at some pretty miracle outs. But if he can get there, this is it. You know, apart from the burst damage from Mask of Cthulhu, this is the final wave that che0nsu needs to overcome.
Oh, man. If he's going for Mali, it's just not there, right? What can he do with 2 mana? I'm not seeing it.
I don't think he is either. Raise Dead into Elusia's too expensive.
Yeah, it's just... So is Zyrella. It's just not gonna get there. che0nsu was so close! He nearly outlasted Lunacy Mage with deck of Lunacy on 2. Man.
Very, very close stuff, and very nicely done there by GivePLZ. Obviously, you know, we can applaud him sarcastically as much as we want for getting Deck of Lunacy on 2, but I think for the most part, his game plan was pretty solid, right? He knew at all points just how much to develop, not to overextend, saving the combination of Glowflight plus the Survival of the Fittest in order to get the maximum pressure onto the board. And it was really only the Elusia into the perfect answer that even kept che0nsu in the game up until that point. Maybe with slightly better luck on the cards that had been generated. It could have been a blowout victory for GivePLZ, but a win is a win. You take it, and you're very happy that your Mage moves on as it's 2-0 so far today. Definitely looking like the ban was the correct way to go.
Honestly, just looking at the way this matchup played, I am not sure whether I'm more or less convinced that Priest has the potential to beat Mage. Because on one hand, yes, the Mage did have Lunacy on 2, but on the other hand, they didn't hit a single in the Grand Slam. And the Lunacy outcomes, I think they get even better than that, where you see at the end there, GivePLZ just had so many dead cards that did nothing but draw. On a lot of worlds, those cards generate minions instead, or their burst damage, and it could have gone that way. But in another world, you can also say most of the time Mage doesn't have Lunacy that early, and maybe the Priest could have leveraged their board state by that point to try and stretch their resources out longer. I just can't say. Deck of Lunacy is just too difficult to evaluate for me.
Yeah, I think of all the classes that are most resilient against non-Lunacy games against Deck of Lunacy, Priest definitely feels the most in a good spot with all the healing that it has available. The burst from Fireballs and Mask of Cthulhu rarely, if ever, gets there. Now it's going to be GivePLZ moving on to one of the other most popular and most dominant archetypes in the current metagame, but a slightly different build that we see from him here. Ogremancer, which has just been creeping up and up and up. Stonks just flying up in terms of the list that it's included in here, even finding its way into Rogue. I'm not necessarily sure that I like this list so much. Again, the problem that I have is that there's this lack of a win condition, it feels like, which the Secret Rogue, again, goes some way to remedy because you have more of a secret game plan to bolster your board. The Alex Strasza versions absolutely have a very strong win condition at the end, whereas this variant, I don't know, it can struggle a little bit with actually closing out the game, but it's not necessarily to say that it can't do it at all. Obviously still has a very strong mid-game and a lot of burst at its disposal.
Yeah. If there's one card I'm going to put as close to a win condition as possible here, it's certainly Jandis. And, you know, as long as I see 2 Shadow Steps in the list to let you abuse Jandis as much as possible, then I think that can be considered a win condition for a deck like this. But more so than that, it just goes to show you that there's a new philosophy for Hearthstone deck building where if you just build a deck that is super consistent and has powerful mechanics, even though the synergies don't look like in a vacuum they would be strong enough to close out a game, just tempo and incremental damage, if you do everything for 1 mana cheaper than your opponent does, is just a masterclass on how Rogue kind of works.
che0nsu going with the Mage on the other side. Now, pretty much all the same stuff that you're seeing in the last one. The only real differences that we are seeing in Mage decks at the moment is how many of the 7-cost spells you're including. Like, I am personally a fan of just going all in on all 4 of the 7-cost spells, again, just because they give you guaranteed Grand Slam or Survival of the Fittest, 2 very, very powerful cards. And in all honesty, as we were saying just yesterday, like, Flamestrike is just a good card right now. Going to 5 damage instead of 4 is a big difference in terms of chipping away all those health points in the later stages of the game. But at the end of the day, it's still Mage. It's still going to do Mage things. And in all, I think we're very likely to end up going to a 3-0 for the Mage in terms of win rates, and maybe even in Deck of Lunacy on 2 as well.
Oh, you just had to say it, didn't you, Derek? In terms of how to build Mage, I think aside from the 7-cost slot, the one I look closely at is also the 3-cost slot, because a lot of people have been including different secret variations. Like, usually 1 ice barrier is what I've been used to seeing at this point, and some people are cutting combustion altogether, which I'm generally not a fan of, at least on ladder, because there will be the odd face hunters out there or the aggressive players that you really wish you had combustion to deal with. And also 3-cost cards evolve into 6-cost cards, which consist of your card draw.
Yeah, it's like 4 out of 7, right? That just draw you cards, which you're very, very happy to see. Another thing that you're very happy to see is Deck of Lunacy on turn 2. 3 out of 3 games so far. I mean, I would call it above average, but honestly, at this point, based on my ladder experience, that feels below average in terms of the number of Lunacies I've seen on 2.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, Derek, they're called Grandmasters for a reason. Oh, this piercing shot is so illegal. It just doesn't even give the discount to GivePLZ, my goodness.
Yep.
Hello.
Okay, it's a somewhat slow start at the very least to get things rolling, but still a brutally powerful one.
Wow, going for devolving instead here. Okay, that's a weird outcome. I mean, che0nsu could very well just be thinking the deal 6 damage can be more valuable later on. All he needs now is to hit Skull of Gul'dan, or Nourish, or Hand of Gul'dan. Yeah, there you go. I mean, the 6-cost cards, like you said, 4 out of 7 draw you 3 cards.
Yeah.
Some of them even discount, or I mean, Sprint draws 4. Just like this happens when you get Lunacy. It's just insane how often they've been getting Lunacy.
Yeah, Idle, the one dead card that we've seen thus far. But Mask of Cthulhu's Soul Mirror, there's little minion generation, but it's still, I think, just more than Mage can answer, than Rogue can answer, sorry. Because the other thing is, against Rogue, there is no healing. You don't need minion development like you do against Priest. Just burning them out is an extremely valid strategy.
Looks like GivePLZ is trying to delete one turn from che0nsu with the double Cult Neophytes. And to be fair, it means that his turn is like not as good, but it's still fine. I mean, this top deck Hellfire makes it even better than simply Initiation. Jeez.
Yeah, I think sheesh is what the kids would be saying right about now about this Mage game. Just absolutely disgusting.
I'm looking for a few.
I take back everything I said
fair,
about Rogue being able to do whatever you do more efficiently. It's in a world without Mage.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is here as well that while I was saying that Rogue is very vulnerable to burst damage because of, again, lack of taunt, lack of healing, Mage is in the exact same spot. They have no healing in the deck unless you can generate some off of Deck of Lunacy, which is a little bit sparing at the higher mana cost, it's worth saying. Rogue can still get there here. If there is not big minion development and, I don't know, a couple of dead spells, again, you have to get very lucky as GivePLZ, but it's possible. If this Greater Golem sticks and you're able to push for the damage, it can get there.
Okay, well, there's minion development for next turn. For this turn, che0nsu can either initiate or combust here for the full clear. And he just goes for both, so he ends up with a 3-3 as well. Sure. He is not starved for value.
Okay, stealth is a good one, usually. Can just be dealt with here very easily with the Soul Mirror. Oh, I was going to say it forgoes minion development on this turn. Obviously, it doesn't, however, with carvings off the top. The perfect top deck on this turn. Okay.
I mean, it's just pretty fun to call cards when decks like this happen. It's always with Mage, you know, Puzzle Box, OG Yogg-Saron Hope's End, new Yogg-Saron sometimes when it hits the Puzzle Box effect off of the wheel, and now we have Lunacy Mage where all we have to do is name the names of the cards and you already know what's up.
Yeah, and while I was saying it was winnable for GivePLZ, I now take that back. I do not really see any path to victory at this point. Even with Penflinger's Wicked Stabs all pointing directly to the dome, he is dead way before any of that matters. With masks, Grand Slams, everything else coming in as well, it's just over.
Yeah, one thief already used, so the other one, even if it gives him some type of stall effect, and even if he hits the 2 Wicked Stabs and survives to 10 mana, it's just not enough damage. Because he's clearly never getting board back after the Grand Slam hits. Doesn't quite know that yet, so of course, no concede, but the Grand Slam is the nail in the coffin, I want to say.
Go on, put him out of his misery. Stop thinking. Thinking is an insult. Sure, I guess, yeah, keep him nice and healthy. It just does not matter here. Next turn, you pretty much just have lethal guaranteed unless it's a miraculous full clear plus development with Mask of Cthulhu.
Not just a nail in the coffin, it is 4-3-5 Cleft who is stomping on your coffin. GivePLZ, next game, please.
Oh, my lord. All right. Well, with that out of the way, I think we can safely say, at least here in sunny old APAC, it should be a Mage ban. I mean, come on. 3-game sample size, more than enough here. Just get rid of it. It does it every damn time.
Okay. I mean, I really want to agree with you. Okay. And in most cases, I would. Like, if I were playing GM, I would 100% ban Mage. But I don't want to discount the efforts of players like Surrender, che0nsu, Dawn, and High3, all of which are very high-caliber players who have been banning Paladin, for example. che0nsu did not ban Paladin here because GivePLZ simply didn't have it. And it's not to say that they're underestimating Mage. There could be a line of thinking where you just say, okay, this Mage is going to take a win, I accept that, but this is Conquest. If my opponent has one deck that I can target and make up for my low win rate against Mage with, then maybe that's still a way to go about it. I don't know, but that strategy says that Paladin is overall more threatening because of the skewedness of the matchups. Then I just don't want to say that they're dumb, you know?
You don't want to say it, so I will. They're being dumb. You should ban Mage. Okay, well, che0nsu was kind of looking actually at just going for Flame Strike plus Cascading Disaster on that turn to clear the board and still get the damage through to face. I don't think it really matters in all honesty, because you still have Flame Strike plus Mask of Cthulhu on the following turn, which... Oh, plus Cascading Disaster as well, actually, if you needed that as well, which very, very likely leads to a win.
This sets up the lethal as soon as possible for che0nsu, which I think is the most respectful thing you can do to your opponent at a time like this. Because there's pretty much no board that survives Flame Strike and Cascading Disaster, right? And then the Mask will deal the lethal. It's the new Pyroblast.
Yep, bing bang bong, I think. Very easy lethal here.
Why is he thinking?
Oh, it upgrades the Cascading Disaster. Okay, that is lethal. I thought that was getting a bit creative there, but no matter how you go about it, that is going to get the job done. Very nicely done by Mr. che0nsu. And our mages move up 3-0. And the series can begin here for both of our players. With that out of the way, we now have left over with the mages out of the way. And of course, GivePLZ not bringing the Paladin, most importantly. Priest and Rogue for GivePLZ, and Priest and Paladin on the other side for che0nsu after his Rogue was banned away. And I guess, have to say that I would give the advantage here to GivePLZ, given that I think that Rogue, when stacked up against Paladin, is in a very good spot.
Yeah, I mean, beyond just leaving Mage up, the other interesting thing is when you don't have Paladin, che0nsu instead decided to ban Druid, which is, you know, in a lot of people's lineups, the fourth deck, it's the one you're not necessarily sure about. It's weaker than the other three that are almost universally brought in this meta. And it goes to show that che0nsu's lineup is trying to do something very specific, and I don't quite know if there is a hard target on here, but if he feels that confident against Rogue, then I truly think that Priest has a lot more exploring to do. I tried to play a bit of it last night, different builds, and I did generally feel comfortable in the matchup against Rogue, and that's somebody who is a pretty awful Priest player, so I hope we get to see that matchup in particular.
I hope so as well. Yeah, I think there's a lot of decision density, specifically with the Rogue games, because even though Paladin, again, for the most part, is a pretty simple deck in terms of your playstyle, when you're up against Rogue, and specifically when Rogue is against it, there is a lot to be thinking about. But with GivePLZ lining up the Control Priest here, we're going to look at his unique build with Ysera plus Malagos over at the top, and then, of course, a very low curving deck outside of that. No Soul Mirror, as we've seen from some players. No, what is it, Light Shower Elemental, as I think Impact might be running in his list over in Americas. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but I think this build looks as good as any that I've seen. It's got most of the powerful cards that I like to see in any list.
What stands out to me here most is the inclusion of Sethek Veilweaver, which often feels like if you are playing Sethek, then you're all in on Sethek synergies, namely playing Miracle Priest along with the Nazmani Bloodweaver. In this deck where you're trying to hedge a bit, there's just not that consistent ways to get value off of the Sethek. It could be that he just values having a minion to play onto. We can also see that from the watch post. So instead of having your top-end big removal like the Soul Mirror, it seems that GivePLZ is approaching the philosophy of making sure he has the early game a bit more consistently able to fight back.
I think that makes some amount of sense against Paladin, which you'd have to imagine he has pretty high at the forefront of what he's planning for, given that he is leaving up the Mage and the Paladin on the other side and banning away Rogue. Because if you have a lot of minions on board, you don't have to play spells to clear the Paladin boards, which means you're much less vulnerable to Oh My Yogg and can try and curb some of that early damage. Whether or not that comes into actuality here is another question entirely, as che0nsu has most of the cards in the standard list that we have seen from players with the Liberum of Judgment, the One Justice. He does have Carriel over Kazakus, however, and he's also got a Noble Sacrifice in there, which, even if it's probably not the best against Priest, if nothing else, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to guess exactly what all the secrets are going to be.
For the casters as well, this really shakes up our formula of the 2-2-1 now. He is running 3 and then 2 Oh My Yogs, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for that one. Like you said, only one Liberum of Justice, one Liberum of Judgment, but I guess those aren't all that noteworthy now that there's no Kazakus in the list to begin with. What I'm just interested to see is that when we've had Priest on stream so far, it has either dealt with Token Druid, which is very straightforward. You just pick apart their boards, and at a certain point, they have to concede because they have literally no other win condition. And then we've seen it on the other end of the spectrum, trying to outlast Mage, which has bombshell after bombshell of expensive cards played for cheap. Now we get to see Priest in what I believe should be the standard matchup as a bar to test it. Like, is it worth bringing Priest? Can it beat Paladin is my question, because if you are leaving up both that and Mage and you don't have a game plan for either, then I just don't think the lineup works.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that if you ask the Priest players, they say absolutely it beats Priest, it beats the Paladin. But, I mean, if you ask the Priest players, they'll say it will, you know, solve world peace, do your taxes, make you lose £10. Like, there is nothing that this Priest cannot do. Whereas in actuality, if you're not Xananan or Monsanto or Bunny Hopper, you kind of just plummet 20 ranks.
True enough. I will say it has theoretically the tools to beat Paladin. A lot of removal, always important, and notably Elusia, so that when you have the read on them having the pen flingers in hand, you can essentially discard them for them, and that significantly handicaps the Paladin's reach and just overall value in the deck.
Watch Post, however, one of the most annoying cards to deal with in the early game is Paladin if you don't have the buffs. It really does start to just mess with everything you're trying to do. And it will continue to do so here, because these Knights of Anointment, you really don't want to play them while they're drawing cards while that is on the board. But outside of playing them, how do you get enough pressure to kill it off?
Yeah, it's always that dilemma, and it comes off the back of che0nsu's decision to go for a Dormant Minion on turn 1. I was honestly looking at the lap partner instead. Even though it's less stats later on, it's a minion that can immediately attack. Although, looking at che0nsu's hand again, because he didn't have Hand of Adal, it's probably still justified.
Well, we're obviously expecting Oh My Yog, given that it's the one secret of which there are 2 copies, so starting with Draconic Studies does not sound like a terrible idea, or even actually just one maker and see if you get an even worse outcome to get rid of.
Yeah, there's a world where you Draconic, and then if you get Brightwing, you just play it. At that point, you're right, probably do just start with one maker. Anyway, it is not going to go off. Oh wow, targeted che0nsu side of the board. Yeah. You'll take that.
You don't pick the ones.
Okay, and you know,
che0nsu is finally able to clear the watch post.
Right, and I suppose with the spell that was generated by one maker there, it's not necessarily better or worse to keep them Draconic Studies and to get Oh My Yogged. It's kind of depends on what the situation is. But I mean, the really important thing here is that GivePLZ is working up towards many, many board clears with Samuro, Condemn, very likely finding something else with palm readings as well. This board is not going to be sticking around long for che0nsu.
Not at all. He is looking for, I would guess, Hand of Adal. He didn't get it off the cheap Knight of Anointment, so it wouldn't have been playable. And unfortunately, he gets it off this second one. And that means that, well, this is still not the upgraded Condemn. But GivePLZ, I wouldn't begrudge him taking, like, a lackluster Samuro. It's still a board clear.
Oh, really? Like, Samuro is so good later on, right?
It's true. I mean...
There's Avenge it could be as well. I get your point, but...
Okay. It's just scary that if che0nsu has hit a buff for next turn, suddenly your condemn might not clear everything. GivePLZ deciding not to proc the Avenge, I think that's completely correct.
And now for che0nsu, it's just about ramping up this damage because his hand is not especially high value at the moment. He's got the Libram of Hope and Judgment, but he doesn't have Libram of Wisdom he can play over and over. Doesn't have any way to replay them, obviously, with the Lady Liadrin either. No Taylan to draw it either. Like, it's a hand that's lacking all the good stuff in the matchup. And so just trying to kill them as soon as possible is generally the best plan when you're in that situation.
Oh, I'm a bit surprised to not see Sword of the Fallen here. But che0nsu gets to just eke out more value this way. Suppose fit in the hero power and then use the charge for something else. GivePLZ, while I did talk about potentially leaving that board up being a punish if che0nsu had buffs, it would have had to been 2 buffs actually. Hand of Odal plus Libram of Wisdom to get out of range of the Condemn. So it does end up working out quite well for GivePLZ.
I think also with the Sword of the Fallen, aren't all secrets out of the deck now, right? It's been 2 Oh My Yogs, and there's Get Down in play, plus Galloping Savior in play and an Avenge in hand. I think that's everything, yeah.
Yeah, good catch. GivePLZ instead going to use this window to develop the Ogremancer. I'm on board for this because if he did just spend the turn clearing and che0nsu played, say, Aldor Truthseeker, then the Ogremancer on the next turn feels very slow.
And because of the Ogremancer, it is a devastatingly slow turn here. I think GivePLZ can capitalize on this quite nicely on the following turn. Condemn plus Devouring Plague, I think always offers you a full board clear, even if it is Avenge instead of Noble Sacrifice.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Condemn should just clear everything straight up, right? Oh, sorry, no, that's at 2 damage.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder.
And in the Raised Dead pool, there is nothing that strong. I guess some Wand Makers. That's just more value.
It's not the end of the world. I mean, I could see waiting until the Ogremancer has died to try and get it back once again.
It gets the news on not Avenge. And
So he knows that it is Noble Sacrifice 100% here.
He just doesn't want to also proc the Galloping. Oh wow, is Samuro ever?
Interesting. I mean, I just definitely thought that was going to be Devouring Plague and then go face, heal your Ogremancer at the end.
I thought so too. This felt like a very subpar Samuro. Like, if it was not going to be played on the turn where it actually cleared the whole board and protected the health on your other minion, then it felt like it was worth saving even further.
Well, either way, looking for Ogremancer here, doesn't find it and just gets double Wand Maker instead. He can't even play both of them unless he wants to activate the Galloping Savior. Not the end of the world, obviously, with the Devouring Plague that he's able to throw down at the end, but I don't know. It felt like a method that did not guarantee the safety of his Ogremancer at all.
We're getting to the point where che0nsu with 0 Libram discounters is just playing things for fair mana cost, which often does not win games of Hearthstone. But does it just get there against this Priest hand? Ysera's gonna shore up GivePLZ's value problem, isn't it? Because che0nsu has this curve of next turn Libram of Hope into probably another one into Liadrin. He probably won't die to Priest on that turn, so he can play another 2 Librams of Hope. So GivePLZ has a lot of layers of 8/8s to get through.
And Priest at the moment really feels like it struggles with that. If they come down one at a time and you can't Hysteria them to get rid of them, it's just so difficult to chew through those Librams of Hope. In many Priest games, they have been the final nail in the coffin that just locks you out of the game as the Priest.
And GivePLZ should have full knowledge on this Avenge now because he's seen literally every other secret in Johnson, I believe.
Which I suppose the silence could be used to deal with if you wanted to go about it that way. Like, you give them more health than they started with, but at the very least, they're not rocking the high attack value.
Preemptive poison setup. Well, it's not really a setup. I think he just played that to discover a card.
Oh, let's start playing some Librams of Hope. Even though they cost the full 9 mana with 0 of the reduction cards having been found at all, you still just go for it, start churning out the value.
It was tempting to maybe leave up one of those minions, not the poison, and then just play your 8/8, but I think che0nsu is respecting Hysteria. And we get to see GivePLZ stocking up with the new and improved Ysera cards. Dream, of course, pretty backbreaking against the 8/8.
And now this gets interesting. There's obviously a few ways that you can go about dealing with this. Like, you can try and, as you said, dream to send them back to hand and deal with the problem later. I suppose Wave of Apathy kind of achieves a similar thing where you just deal with the problem later on. But that Hysteria, even though it's kind of possible that you end up just clearing your own board, you can also guarantee that both the 8/8s kill each other, right? If you just, or almost, sorry, if you bump one into the other, then it would just be the 8/8s attacking each other first with the Divine Shield still intact that could go wrong.
Right, this is a deceptively hard turn. I think GivePLZ is hedging here that most of the time, well, 2 out of 3 times, it will happen this way because it's going to hit something that isn't the 8/8, then everything else should die. Or at the best case for GivePLZ, the Ysera actually lives.
Yeah, I like this way of going about things. It was, you know, most of the time good enough, and as you said, some of the time insanely good there with the Ysera surviving.
Okay, well, che0nsu has more and more 8/8s, still completely expensive. Having not picked up any Libram discounts means that going for Pen Flinger lethal is just not in his sights, I think. It's just very unlikely to happen.
And I mean, now here for GivePLZ, you have to just be looking at trying to set up a position where playing one Libram of Hope every turn is no longer good enough. Because if you have double Dream in hand with both the Yseras, you can just sap them back turn on turn.
Yeah, I'm interested in Apotheosis, but it means that the second Ysera can't be played. You never dream the Liadrin, I think.
Yeah. I'm looking at, like, silence it. It goes up to a 4/9. You can then VT it very cleanly with Apotheosis. Obviously, you would rather use the silence. I guess the Wave of Apathy achieves a similar goal there instead.
I think he just really wanted to get the Ysera down this turn.
Sure.
Gives him so much flexibility for the next couple turns. Awaken's no longer able to hit the opponent's face, so it's not like GivePLZ is necessarily racing, but the Nightmares are still nothing to underestimate.
Job's done.
And this does now look like it forces che0nsu to deviate away with going with Taylor, and that will guarantee him Aldor Truthseeker, which then makes his hand a lot more palatable in terms of how quickly he can play it out. But even then, this is a mighty powerful board that he's facing down.
There's just no time. I mean, this is the time to dream on the Talon that means GivePLZ doesn't even draw, or che0nsu doesn't even draw anything, then he can Apotheosis and VT over the Northwind Commander. He has 2 dreams, surely it's worth it, right?
I mean, if he can get himself Samuro, then he can just go like Samuro Nightmare and not even worry about that. But in the end, che0nsu says, you know what, buddy? What you're doing looks strong enough. I'll just save us all the time here, and you can take the win. The win with the Priest, a big, big deal. And as you were saying, if the Priest can't deal with the Paladin, what can it deal with? And that just looked like a decisive victory.
Very clinical. I will say the Paladin was far from getting their ideal draw, but we didn't even see all of the tools in Priest's arsenal just yet. We saw GivePLZ use a very lackluster Samuro, and it just got there towards the end because he evaluated his hand and said, I still have enough resources. One Ysera is enough to fix my value problem towards the late game, and also we didn't see him draw Elusia, which is oftentimes the trump card you have against Paladin. So it feels like this matchup makes bringing Priest highly justified, although I wish we could see the Rogue matchup as well, maybe for che0nsu and Priest instead.
Yeah, that's true. That is the one remaining class for GivePLZ on the Rogue. He's got that Ogremancer again, in which he feels very, very fond of, it would seem, in both his Priest and his Rogue. I think against the Paladin, you know, we've talked time and again about how it feels like it's overall a pretty strong matchup for the Rogue. You have the ability to swing these boards in your favor, plenty of burst to close out the game as well. But in specifically Rogue against Priest, how much are you playing the matchup for, like, generating as much value as possible versus just going for an all-out aggro game plan with burst damage, or like all board oriented? It's kind of changed a lot over the course of Priest versus Rogue.
It certainly has, and I think it's also just very dependent on the Rogue builds. The Rogues that have more secret in them, I feel, would generally struggle against Priest more because they're not able to have that much of a proactive game plan. Although, to be fair, secrets can be quite disruptive in this meta. As long as the Rogue has tons of card draw, and I'm talking about just field contacts and secret passage early enough, I think that they can put together within their window, which usually closes around turn 10, to beat Priest, especially getting Wicked Stabs for quite cheap, Mankrik, and coming out for 3 damage. Sometimes it's too much for Priest to deal with, but in most circumstances, I feel that like one big board sweep from the Priest can be a bit too much for Rogue to come back from.
Well, here it is, potentially the last game of the day here if GivePLZ takes the win, for Asia-Pacific at least. Of course, still the other regions yet to play. And it's a reasonable hand, actually, to get things rolling here for GivePLZ. The Octobot, you are never sad to see. And, I mean, potentially curving into Coin Ogremancer next turn. That sounds pretty tough for Priest to deal with.
It really does. che0nsu, not sure what he's trying to pick up for 1 mana, but that's a decent outcome here.
Not bad. Oh! You wish you had that 1 mana available to silence the Octobot. You'd happily do it.
Okay, che0nsu has to invest quite a bit if he wants to get rid of this Ogremancer. It might not be worth it in the near future. That Samuro draw changes a lot because we could see che0nsu now just bide his time, wait till he gets Apotheosis, and then just play Samuro when the taunts get swept up by it anyway.
Alternatively, you could just go for Samuro right now. Like, if you trade the One Thief and Samuro into the Ogremancer, it deals 4 damage, which does open up for Holy Smite on the following turn, and it obviously deals with the 2 1 health minions on the other side.
Focused Will is interesting, but it creates a very annoyingly statted minion on the other side. I think I like your Tempo Samuro idea.
I think it's just pretty good. Like, you get a 1/3 on the board as well, which isn't insane, but it's something at the very least.
Wait, there would be... You would attack into the 2/2 taunt that is generated. Yeah. It's not bad. But going about it this way, che0nsu will still very likely have a clear on these with the Samuro. And sometimes it sweeps up even more minions. So first glance, it looks like he starts the combos with the Cult Neophyte. I think 4 mana is still a little bit too low to go for a passage. Neophyte is quite valuable when you're trying to get rid of certain mana breakpoints, but now that Soul Mirror is not really the premium AoE for Priest anymore, I think it's fine to just drop the Neophyte.
Yeah, I think you're definitely expecting Condemned to come down on this turn. This turn Definitely felt like a setup for that, to just wipe things off on the following turn. But it's not here. The board clear not available. It's going to be yet more damage swinging through here. Samuro can only do so much to mop this up. And GivePLZ has the mother of all follow-ups with Jandis Step, very likely into Jandis again on the following turn. And he's got the field contact and the secret passage. This hand is so juicy.
Yeah, this is the type of hand that Priest really struggles to deal with because it's one threat after the other. I'm honestly pretty surprised to not see Jandis snap played here.
Same.
Maybe he was thinking he had a solid read on no condemn, so he could try and hope for this field contact to stick, but I don't know. I feel like more stats on board and then you can go for the card draw later. Seemed like a faster way to close out the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, like even if we want to make the argument that you want to replay the Cult Neophyte, you can still just do that. If you really want to, you can step the Neophyte and play it against Try and Protect Your Board. I definitely would have preferred to have seen Jandis come down in that situation, as now, bye-bye board.
Yeah, condemn into Penflinger. Or... oh, I forgot this only deals damage to enemy minions, my
Right, yeah.
I keep thinking
it's even better than you
the
thought.
Infinite in my mind, yeah. Okay, well, wow. 5 drops this meta. Am I right?
Oh, Shadow of Death can't even target anything. That's how good these are. They're just well statted, but still can't be removed.
So che0nsu now needs Soulmare, Wave of Apathy to stall. I don't know, he needs Zyrella.
So he's got Condemn, Penflinger, Condemn, or Focused Will, Penflinger again. Like, he can't clear without losing the Penflinger on this turn, but I guess you just accept that you're going to lose the Penflinger. That's not so bad, actually. Stops the damage, which is the big thing.
Yep, Priest is not really a deck that's looking to eke all their value out of Penflinger. It's like it's a bonus if you're able to. But the win condition is truly in the big boys here. He has the Yogg lined up for still kind of far away. But at least he has Thrive in the Shadow to potentially discover another AoE.
Yeah, this is exactly the turn that I was looking at here for GivePLZ. I was, I guess, thinking on ending with Dagger just to get rid of the Penflinger, just to avoid any nonsense, but sure. This sets you up for even more mana cheating on the following turn. Gets the bodies down, makes it harder for Priest to answer, obviously, with the Watch Post as well. It's looking rough.
che0nsu, I feel he really wants to draw Zyrella, but of course Thrive gets you spells. And as for spells that have an immediate impact on this board, Hysteria comes to mind, but not much else. If he goes Vol'jin, the scariest minion to pop out on the other side is... honestly, nothing too big, because this is not the Alexstrasza version from GivePLZ.
Yeah, nothing can really go wrong. I mean, I was kind of wondering if you just go for it on your own Penflinger to get a Yogg down on the board tempo, but I guess that's probably not quite good enough. You'd rather just have the effect of Yogg.
The respect che0nsu gives this Octobot, I think, is completely warranted. The mana discounts are much scarier than just a one-attack minion, with no matter how much health it has.
Yeah, Hysteria, one of the premium ways of looking to clear up a board of this caliber. Ooh. Well, whatever che0nsu is going to do to clear this up, it's going to have to come very, very soon, because he is almost dead, right? This is 10, 14, 17, 18 damage. Like, it's not there yet, but it's closer than you might think.
The mask is deceptively strong here. I guess next turn, though, GivePLZ gonna start off with getting the Neophyte. That's huge. Makes che0nsu's clear potential much more difficult. GivePLZ can very likely see the end of his deck here.
Shuffle in another Man-Crick. Absolutely more damage going to the face. Mask plus the upgraded Wicked Stab coming down in the next couple of turns. The card draw keeps coming as well. Just couldn't be any better.
che0nsu just doesn't look like he'll have time for Yogg. He has used Samuro and didn't have Apotheosis to go with it, so in terms of the Reno effects, it's just not there.
Yeah, even if this can be a full board clear with Hysteria, which I haven't even thought about, I don't think even targeting Enraged Man-Crick, you get especially close. Even if that were to happen, it still is just lethal with Mask plus the all the other stuff. Even if I suppose the mana isn't quite there yet, it may as well be in the next couple turns.
Right, and I believe this... Sorry, both Wicked Stabs are still in the hand, and so GivePLZ, his remaining cards are either Kazakus or One Thief or the other Man-Crick. So those are just all insane in terms of being able to give him more reach. It's just, I'm not seeing the out for che0nsu except an amazing Yogg. But it is actually just lethal here with one Wicked Stab.
Yeah, brutal way to go out. If he had gone for Penflinger on the Man-Crick to end things off, I think he might have actually survived that one extra turn in order to get through to Yogg on the following turn. It's pretty brutal to end up in that situation where you do die because of that. And even if it wasn't the Mask of Cthulhu, I think there was actually just lethal with 3 Penflingers, or 5 Penflingers, I suppose it would be, plus the 2 copies of Wicked Stab in hand as well. I think there was still just enough way to get the damage there in the end. And so well done to GivePLZ. An unfortunate way to lose out for che0nsu, but a great week, starting week here already for GivePLZ. He goes through to the quarterfinals, and we will get to see him as the one player in APAC who does not have the full trifecta of Mage, Rogue, and Paladin. I mean, he has 2 out of the 3, but he's just missing the Paladin, and he's looking pretty good so far with his play.
Yeah, it does mean we now have our top 8